kindest possible way with as many people as possible. Women do not need mentors any more than men. Women do not need AICD, Australian Company Institute of Directors accreditations, any more than men. Women need a cheer squad. We need to know that our place in this world is intrinsically a crucial part of our species' survival. Our voice in this world is actually a fundamental part of our children's heritage, and it's poorly represented. Between my provocation and my reality is a wealth of conversation. You know, you may argue with me. You may think that what I'm offering you is you disagree with it, and I would love that. I would love that we argue about it, but at least you walk away with a sense of there is another way to view us in our society. And I would like that we are encouraged to stop talking about women as part of an equal opportunity discussion. It's got nothing to do with equal opportunity. It has to do with the world we want and the role of women in creating that world. Men and women are different. Hands up who are deeply aware of that. Hands up high, because I'd just like for everyone to look. Okay, look around. Why are we so obsessed with making ourselves the same? I don't get it. I don't understand why we're so obsessed with being the same. Because I've got to tell you, if we were the same, then we're competing to reinforce a paradigm that doesn't need our sameness, it actually needs our difference. You know, I hear it routinely in my days, we recruit the best people. Tosh! We do not. You know, the only logical conclusion you can reach if we recruit people with equal skill is women are stupid and incapable and incompetent. That's what you have to assume. Hands up who think that's true. Young women, middle-aged women, old women have to stop talking about competing with men as the same or equal. We are different, and it is our difference that is worth celebrating, finding, nurturing, and then connecting to what in our world is not working effectively. You can name with searing accuracy things that are not working well in our world and attach them to, repetitiously, the absence of women at the senior decision-making table. Statisticians can argue with me. I checked it yesterday. It was on the internet, and you could always trust that. 70% of the world's labour, 1% of the world's assets. On average, somewhere variously between 4 to 12%, 15% at the maximum of the executive director positions. So we shape the world, but we don't always control the decisions. We've found our nest. Our planet is not well. We know that despite 30, 40, 50 years of concentrated effort on caring for the disadvantaged, there are more people disenfranchised by our wealth in the world today than ever before. Now, we could say it's part of the human condition, or we could begin to ask ourselves, something about the way we're caring for the human family isn't quite right. Something about the way we're operating in the world isn't quite right. So my first proposition is, men and women are different, and it is the difference we should value and elevate because we fundamentally need each other. You know what a paradigm is? You know, a set of rules that we live within that contain our thinking. Well, guess what? Paradigms do not change from within the rules. They just don't. There's no evidence of that. Because we spend most of our time trying to justify the rules. Paradigms change outside the rules. And so one of our things is to try and create a dialogue, an increasing dialogue with women about if we were to come from this from a completely different angle, what would it look like? What would be the questions we would ask ourselves if we did a 180 on our role in society? You know, we're looking at it that way. What would happen if we turned around and looked at it the other way completely? For instance, I passionately disagree with maternity leave. I think it's a sickness. I hate it with every bone in my body. How have we come to accept having children is a disability in terms of our influence on the planet? How has that happened? Somehow we've taken children and put them over there, and we've taken old people and put them over there, as if we're not actually part of the same community. It's not healthy. It's really unhealthy for us all. We miss the tribal elders, we miss being with people who are older and wiser and calmer. And dear Lord, we watch the decisions that are made in the absence of children. And you really wonder, as a parent, would we make those decisions if the children were in the room? And I do not believe when women are given a choice to create the environment that suits them, that children are ever separated from the working space. And I observe consistently children that are connected to what their parents do are healthier, happier, and more connected. So sooner or later, we all have to step outside where we find ourselves, men and women alike, and start to say, what mind will solve this problem? Because the current estimate is that it will take us 100 years to get parity. I don't think our planet makes it, personally. So, have I managed to piss any of you off yet? The companies with gender diversity significantly outperformed in their sector in terms of return on equity, operating results, stock price growth. Don't you think that's weird? That's McKinsey's have said that. This is probably the preeminent researcher and consultant in the field. Women hold 12.3 of the ASX 200 positions, up from 8.4%. Now the thing that bewildered me when this stat came out is it was celebrated. Does anyone else have this? Am I peculiar in having this reaction? Or I go, are you kidding me? We're celebrating this? Why aren't we getting cross about it? I know when a minority sits on a leadership team, you better have the most enlightened team known to mankind for that minority to have an equal voice. Does that make sense to you? Hands up, people would agree with that. Hands up high. I want you to see those. Look around the room. To have a voice in that space is a significant challenge. And it requires a couple of things, either tremendous personal fortitude, extraordinary leadership capability, phenomenal behavioural flexibility, or an incredible ability to mimic. What I see is a lot of incredibly wonderful, beautiful women who learn to mimic. And sooner or later, they pay a price for it. This is not the domain of powerful women. It's a domain where a powerful woman learns to behave like a powerful man. Now, some don't do that. I'm not saying it's all women. It's an awful lot who will struggle in that space to hold the centre of who they are as what should be brilliant matriarchs. What happens to women in senior positions when they adapt to a male environment has got nothing to do with cognitive ability and everything to do with 150,000-year-old biology. And I've got to tell you, a hot ass counts for a lot. Nothing tougher on a young, attractive woman than a woman in her 50s, postmenopausal, on a board, who is now watching men tripping over themselves in the presence of an attractive young woman, and she suddenly feels she's sightless and faceless. Well, let me show you what sightless and faceless looks like, sweetheart. We have to stop talking about the issues that women naturally do extremely well as soft issues. Take one person, you take one situation, you take an outcome, and you already have variables that you cannot calculate. So everywhere women have these amazing skills at engaging human community in outcomes that we've been labelling soft skills, but they're not. They're complex acts of complex leadership. Everything we do with leaders is about helping them know you can blame the world till you're blue in the face. But in the end, it's like putting all your power into a bowl, imagining it's talcum powder, and every time you blame someone else for who you are and what's happening, you go and blow off a layer of your power. For many women, they have been so indoctrinated into believing this about themselves that they cannot see that. We don't actually know what we're dealing with anymore. And we begin to believe that's what you have to do to be successful in this space. So it's a paradox. We have to hold both propositions concurrently. Women don't work in hierarchies. In fact, we're shocking at it. Women have an appalling sense of who's important. But surely crap at it, you know? Men work in a structural hierarchy. They do have this sense of staggered who's more important than, who's more influential than. There's nothing wrong with that, actually. Some part of men's wiring is to carefully watch talent. Mind you, if that talent trips, if the fastest spear thrower misses twice, what's waiting behind? And it makes our skin crawl. Because for us, it feels unkind, competitive and inhuman. But actually, for eons, it's worked highly effectively for men. However, back at the camp, what were the women doing? Come on, what were we doing? Everything else! So there we were doing all these things, and we were, thatching things and sewing things and caring for things and cooking, and what else were we doing? Talking! Working together in this network of relationships. So this second study that looked at 6 powerful women over a year discovered a phenomenon about women. We don't work in hierarchies, we work in networks of relationships. So force feed women into a hierarchy and they don't know how to play comfortably. So they mimic and they're hard to work with, often, not always. I recognise and respect the male model of operating deeply. Enlightened men are, a blessing. So I get that there are different values, but the thing I struggle with, do we actually know what women value? Have we defined what we want in our society? Or are we just reacting to what we've got? And I say again, the mind that creates the problem won't solve it. So what do we really want here? What do we really value? And then a funny thing you discover is what's important to you as a woman is often what is important to other women when you have confidential conversations. And we have to think about the world that we want. And part of that is fundamentally we do not have a shared vision. I don't think we've said, why are we wanting equal opportunity for women? 9 times out of 10, the answer is because it's the fair thing to do. Fairness has never mobilised change. It helps you determine whether the change is right, but it doesn't mobilise change. So you have to have a shared vision, and I don't believe we have one. We just talk about it's the right thing to do, and I believe it is the right thing to do, but I believe it's the right thing to do because for the future of our planet and for the balance and wellness of our species, we need men and women together with an intent to value the differences, not the sameness. You will never know where your voice counts, but in a time of prejudice, you have to count. Whatever it might be, don't think that your voice doesn't count. Lift your head up and look at the world around you and know that you have a place. Thank you for being here tonight. Big round of applause.